I was listening to Mr. Joe Rogan, and I love him. And he's like, somebody asked him, do you yoga? He said, yeah, I love to stretch. Now imagine the yogi, poor guy in the Himalayas, must be banging his head that, you think I'm stretching? You think I care about stretching? That's the problem with yogis. We should be handing out diplomas to each other. Because we have these Western people coming in, they learn, and then they go back, and then they start handing out diplomas, and then we come here, and then they ask us for our diploma, and we were the ones who taught in the first place, and we don't have a diploma. That's not nice. I'll go back to the monastery, and I'll scream at them. I'm like, start giving PhD certifications. How do you know you have reached? There is no such thing as Kundalini yoga. So there is Kundalini. It's like doing bicep curl awakens the bicep. You can just say the curl awakens the bicep. It's like Kundalini. Everybody has it.
Okay.
It's that energy that's inside us. It's that Shakti. And then there are
Shakti
those
energy.
yoga modalities eventually that will awaken the consciousness. So it is a natural part of the natural yoga process.
What's up, fam? Welcome to another episode of Dang Life Mastery. This is the Dang man himself, Sumit Dang. So this is the long-awaited part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Ishan Shivanand. This conversation is literally no less enlightening and deep and layered than the last conversation was. In fact, we kind of take it to the next level, where that was kind of like opening the door. This is kind of like, all right, let's see what's through the door a little bit. I highly recommend giving the whole conversation a listen, one time through, maybe a couple times through. There's a lot of really wonderful knowledge bombs that Dr. Ishan Shivanand drops throughout the episode. And honestly, these 2 conversations are probably some of the best conversations that we've had here on the podcast, Dang Life Mastery, so far. So really take your time with them and really enjoy all the depth within them. I also want to highly suggest this really wonderful new book by Dr. Ishan Shivanand. I had briefly mentioned it in the intro to our last conversation, but this is his book. It's called The Practice of Immortality. It is now available everywhere: Audible, Amazon, Goodreads. Maybe you're a local book retailer too. Check it out. I highly recommend picking up a copy of this book. Honestly, I'm halfway through my second read of this book, and I found it so enlightening and so deep and so layered and so full of just wonderful knowledge bombs throughout the whole thing. I know I said that about the podcast, but really this book and the podcast complement each other really well. And I found listening to this book, I got it on Audible, I found that the second listen, I'm really only just starting to pick up on so much of the depth and wisdom within it. The first read, it was so relatable. I felt like I was right there with Dr. Shivanand on his journey in this book. In this book, he talks about his life growing up in the ashrams and going on the journey to defeating all the inner demons and finding connection with his highest self. And he wrote it in such a relatable, wonderful way. I highly recommend, like I said, picking up a copy of this book and giving it a read. Now, that being said, please enjoy this episode of Dang Life Mastery, The Truth of Yoga Revealed, Part 2. And I will see you on the other side. I started training with a gada, which is a mace. And then a club. And then what's a mudgar?
Mudgar are the big wooden things. And you use, why I don't like the metallic mace? Because it looks like a baseball bat. And it doesn't give you the movement of a wooden mudgar. So it is short. It's short and its center of gravity is different than a wooden mudgar.
That's the club.
The wooden mudgar has a very long, different center of gravity. So it pushes your nervous system a lot more because you have to stabilize. And the movement is much more similar to picking up and throwing a person like you do in jiu-jitsu. And that's why those mudgars are much better and the metallic versions are not that great. And the same is with the gada. The real gada is not like the metal gada with the long thingy, long
The long
stalk
stem and then the ball.
and the small ball. The real gada has a short stem and a big ball. So it's a completely different movement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the gada was used as like we have today missile launchers to take out tanks,
Yeah.
like we have RPGs.
Yeah.
So gadas were the elephant killers. So you have to understand, in India in warfare, we used to have elephants. You can't take out an elephant with a bow and arrow. So you used to have gada, and the guys who used to wield gadas like beam were known as the elephant killers. So their job was to hit the elephant right part in the Agya Chakra, open their third eye, and they would do the most damage. So that's what that was ancient warfare. There's the Rati, the Maharati, then there is like the infantry. We have a very solid focus on archery and all these various weapon systems. The Mudgars really helped us, and that's why, when you were talking about muscles and workouts, so the Indian way of working out, the traditional ways are quite different.
It trains the whole body.
You don't come out looking as aesthetically pleasing as a model, because we
I'm
don't.
an actor. I have to like be aesthetically pleasing by it.
Yeah, no, I understand, but today the superhero body is a single digit fat. So with those Indian systems and the yogi systems, it's very difficult to get that body unless and until you really control your diet. And like with the trouble with that yogi body is you don't get that martial body. And I like to fight, and for that I need that mass. So if you look at my old pictures, when I was just relying on yoga and meditation and tap, I had no mass. Then the yoga makes you very nice, flexible, and you come out looking like Mahatma Gandhi. And
like all the Himalayan yogis who are twigs.
Yeah, scrawny, and you have that inner strength and everything, but you don't look, you don't have the strength then to whoop 10 people. But then when I started to do kalari, and I started to do mudgars, and I started to do the ancient warfare, and I like bow and arrow and the gada, I really love, those are my weapons. So then I needed that strength as well. So then the training changes, the diet changes, and then you start to develop that mass. But then again, it's not that single digit body fat where you have that chisel, this, that.
I know. And that's what
it's like a wrestler's body.
That's what I move for. Like my goal is 10% just like maintaining and 8% for films. Right now I'm at 15%. But like ever since stopping to eat meat, my muscles have just shrunk. Like it's so hard for me to eat food consistently, the amount of food that I need to eat. And so like I focus on just legumes and as much protein as I can through beans or through vegetables. But like when I ate meat, it was so different. Like my muscles were just popping. Like I did a play in 2018 where I was playing a soldier, and so I just went to the gym and I was stacking on chicken and broccoli and gym. I was beastly.
The Hollywood diet of chicken and broccoli.
Yes, sir.
There's something magical in it, huh? Everybody from The Rock to chicken and broccoli is the magical broccoli in Hollywood,
It is.
I read about The Rock. He says chicken broccoli.
Everybody says it.
Is chicken broccoli.
I mean, what's his face?
It's the secret juice broccoli.
Jordan Peterson. Do you know who he is? He's the Canadian psychologist who.
Yes, I do know who he is.
Yeah. He was talking
very intelligent, intellectual.
There.
I think he is on a carnivore diet.
He is. He was talking about. I think on Rogan, he was talking about the chicken.
Rogan is very well as well.
Yeah,
I like that podcaster.
Yeah, Rogan is.
He really likes to explore thoughts and philosophies in a very articulate manner. I value him.
You would be aside from my podcast, because this is a growing podcast. TRS, I think, would be an amazing place for you to end up. The Ranveer show to grow Shiv Yoga, but also Rogan to grow it in the West.
See, Shiv Yoga is a practitioner's art. It's very easy to go to the mass. I've come from the mass. I've had crowds of 40, 50,000.
Mm.
But in those masses, do you have the sadhak, or do you have people who have come to see?
Mm. So you're
I
trying to
am
find
not
the specific.
running after people. I am not running after glory. There is a form of narcissism and sociopathy that you see in faith leaders, where everybody is running after a congregation, and it's because your some need is not fulfilled. So yes, it is all covered under the veil of spirituality, but in the end, like we talked about in the previous podcast, learn, earn, spend, leave. There's so many spiritual leaders who lose their cognitive abilities, and they are not ready to let go of power. And if you can't take sannyas, how can you be a great yogi like my
Power
guru?
is ultimately corrupting.
And absolute power corrupts absolutely. So my great guru, Mahasiddha Avadhut Shivanand, at the peak of his popularity, he's like he's extremely popular in all the Indian countries. And Sanatan, I'm saying Indian countries, so Indians are not just from India. You get a lot of brown people of Sanatan culture from Nepal. You get them from Mauritius. You get them from Fiji. You get them from all these other places. Like Africa, India has a lot of roots there. So we are everywhere. We don't just come from that small place. So our population is big everywhere. So he was most popular. Like wherever he'll sit, minimum 50, 60,000 people would just come. And then one day he just comes to me and he's like, "Tag, you are it." So we have that Sanatan Parampara, where there's the student and the disciple, and then the disciple becomes the master, and then he has to carry the lineage forward. So we come from a living lineage, and I've seen him, and I've worked with so many faith leaders, and they are not ready to let go. And he, at the height of his popularity, is just like, okay, now I'm doing my sadhana. Now I want to do my inner exploration.
But did he not already do that when he attained enlightenment, when he was in the Himalayas?
Then he had a goal. And then you do that goal, and then you leave. So my objective is, I have seen crowds. I grew up in that. My objective is now to find those seekers and do with them what my guru could do with me. Because you read about Vivekananda. How many Vivekanands did he leave behind? You read about Yogananda. How many Yoganands did he leave behind? There are very few masters. Ramakrishna could leave behind Vivekananda. Vivekananda did not leave behind any Vivekananda. And even if he did, not to that level where he could be. So these are not what you can call, these are what you will call a savat. Savat is like a musical prodigy, a prodigy. Like,
oh, savant.
My accent, Indian education.
It's better than arguably an American.
So like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, he can play, but he can't make another Mozart. So a lot of these great masters, you will find they were, but they could not. So you bask in their divine glory, but you never reach to there. It's and if you look at our culture, there were these great masters as well, who could take the most redundant and make him a great king. And not even great normal masters, normal acharyas. We have this great acharya called Chanakya. And one time Chanakya just, he's just an acharya living in his monastery, and he's got pissed.
What is an acharya, really quick?
Teacher.
Okay.
Teacher, there are a lot of meanings. As I said, Sanskrit in the previous podcast, interpretations. So in the simplest sense, teacher.
Okay.
So a simple acharya, he's living, and something pissed him off, and he said, I don't like the empire of Seleucus Nicator in India, because when Alexander came to India, he whooped a few kings and he made an empire. And when Alexander died, Seleucus Nicator took control. And this one guy, Chanakya, he found this person, Chandragupta Maurya, and he was a man without a kingdom. He had lost everything, and he said, I will make you. And this, nobody of a Acharya had so much wealth and wisdom that he could be a kingmaker that defeated Seleucus Nicator and established the Mauryan Empire. That is the power of the great gurus of Sanatan. So how can I be considered? How can anybody be considered the great guru? How can you be that if you can't make more of yourselves? Because you followed a path, you reach somewhere. And then in your lifetime, there should be people who can attain to that. And I set it as my life goal. And my father challenged me to it. He said, if I can make one Ishan, let's see how many Ishans can Ishans make. So that's why my objective is different. And what I am teaching also, it's a cycle. I cannot repeat this cycle. It's not scalable. So when I'm doing the LRT, it's a 5-year cycle. I can do it with one group of people, then there is no guarantee if I can ever do it with another group of people. And all the time and energy, and I'm investing myself. Is my blood and bones. Each time I go there and I'm giving parts of me. The seed is going into them. And then one day I want to see them become that. And that is my goal.
I love that. There's another guru who he kind of just like popped up in my algorithm. It was like last year, Guru Pashupati. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's starting to, he says that his guru is Mahavatar Babaji. And that I was actually just listening to him on the way here today. And he said that's his goal too, is to make 1 million more Siddha yogis and then disappear. And it seems like that he's around your age. I think he's in his 50s probably. But it seems like the younger yogi masters are like trying to breed that now.
It's good because look at Shankaracharya. He passed in his early 30s. Or everything that he did, 30s. Baba Gorakhnath, each time we represent him, it's a young youthful.
Really?
Even Mahavatar Baba, when we represent, it's a young youthful. So it's good that we have the youth leading the youth as well, because then a lot can be achieved. And I think in the coming time, it is the young masters will come. And India has never shied from young masters. If we look at Nachiketa, the Kathopanishad, he's a 7-8-year-old boy facing death. And he has this most profound conversation with death that is called Kathopanishad. And I don't know if you can ever get access to that text. It is one of the most beautiful, most powerful texts I've ever read. So the story is Nachiketa is a young boy and his father gives him to death. And then death doesn't receive the boy because nobody has ever come willingly to death. And then death offers him 3 boons. And the boy says, teach me the secrets of death. What happens after death? How can we conquer death? And what does life mean? All those things he asks from death. All these questions. And then death is very scared that if I reveal this knowledge to you, the secret of life and death, and how to conquer it, then nobody will be afraid of me anymore. How can I do that? I'll give you women, I'll give you this, I'll give you kingdom, I'll give you 1,000-year-old life. And then the kid just asks, then won't I die? Won't it eventually be snatched away? And if it's temporary, what's the point of it? I want something that's immortal, eternal, true. And then Nachiketa receives that knowledge. So he's a kid. And when we talk about people like Ashtavakra, he's a kid. Even when we look at Bhagavan Krishna and all the things that he did in the Bhagavad Puran, it's a kid. And Dhruva, Prahlad, all these children have so much power and knowledge to show to us. So Bharat has never just given monopoly of old men with white beards on wisdom. Because we believe not in one life, we believe in many lives. And we believe a child can be born with the knowledge of the ages. And that's why this is unique to us.
The podcast is called Dang Life Mastery for a very specific reason. Mastering this dang life. Mastering the game of this life. Because it's all a game. I've so realized that. Like it's a game of momentum. It's a game of progression. It's a game of learning and growing and becoming, understanding more until you realize that we're nothing. We're everything and nothing. Like this physical realm is only a fraction of what is more. At least that's what I'm starting to understand. And so like my goal in life is really just to master the game of life. And the goal of this podcast is to share that journey.
It's a nice goal.
Yeah. So Yoga of Immortals, we talked about that in the last episode. What is Yoga of Immortals?
It is a very powerful name. And it represents a lot about Sanatan Dharma. As we talked about Sanatan Dharma, I said it is the eternal knowledge. So Yoga of Immortals is that eternal knowledge that can be forgotten but can never be lost. It has just been rediscovered over time. And the people who receive this knowledge become the immortals, the Chiranjeevi. Like Baba Gorakhnath, the one who have mastery, the one who are free. Then if you want to live, you live. If you want to go into the light, you go into the light. And also, Yoga of Immortals as a practice. So yoga in itself is a verb. It is the protocol, a system that helps us go into a state of union with the supreme consciousness. And it is this practice of those immortals. So this practice, I feel it was limited to only great seekers, practitioners. And when I used to live in the monastery, I found that very limited 0.0001% people actually come seeking this knowledge, this sacred knowledge, this immortal knowledge, and benefit from it. And even the benefit they get from it is very limited, very personal, very selfish. My enlightenment, my healing, my this, my that. And I believe this knowledge could be used for so much more. So when I came out of the monastery, I saw there is this whole population that can benefit from this divine cosmic cognitive medicine. And I started sharing it. I started researching upon it. I started implementing it in the lives of doctors, in the lives of veterans, in the lives of engineers, in the lives of any high stress job individual. And now I'm seeing that first it was only some jobs were high stress. Now everybody's stressed. So Yoga of Immortals are those evidence-backed native modalities of the yogis that they used. They used it for many spiritual purposes, but they can also be used to combat the contemporary problems, which is the mental health disorders like addiction, substance abuse, stress, anxiety, depression, insomnia. It can easily be removed by these practices. So Yoga of Immortals is that system that is being taught to the whole world. You can use it to help the self. And if you want to use it, it's like you using a bike. You can use it to go to Costco, but you can use it to go anywhere you want also. So this is not a system that is limited to mental health. It can even take you to enlightenment if you want.
Okay. Full disclosure, I practice Yoga of Immortals. Um, I've only made it about halfway through as of yet. I made it through, and then like it kind of tapered off. I think it was so Yoga of Immortals is broken into four parts, four levels, if you will. I'm in level 2. I think it's number sadhana 3 or sadhana 4. The one where the eye movements one. Um, and the energy just built up so much, and or something has kind of just come into my life, and then the sadhana shatters, and then I have to start back up from ground one. I'm at my third time now of building back up from ground one, but like I have Bhairava's support now, and he's kind of guiding me to like. I was wondering if I need to start all over again, or if I can pick up where I left off. But
pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I felt like I need to rebuild the energies again. And so like my way of doing it is that
Shivanand, Shiv Yogi, you're not doing it alone. This is not the benign yoga that you are given in the West. The Western yoga is like a chicken nugget. There is no chicken in it. You don't know what it is. It's like, it's a product. It's a product.
To make people sick and fat.
Yes, and the same way when I look at those yogas and I look at that syllabus, it's like you just take random words and just like namaste, what we were making fun of, that, and take random prayers and just put anything anywhere to make it look cohesive. But it is something. So if you go into the real gist of yoga, then it is very, very powerful. And it has to be spiritual. You cannot remove the spirituality from yoga. I was listening to Mr. Joe Rogan, and I love him. And he's like, somebody asked him, do you yoga? He said, yeah, I love to stretch. Now imagine the yogi, poor guy in the Himalayas, must be banging his head. Like, you think I'm stretching? You think I care about stretching? So again,
it's the bastardization of our.
It's a product. It's been dissected from its core philosophy and spirituality. So when we do Yoga of Immortals, we don't dissect it. It's not just the physical part of it. It's the whole soul of it exists. The spirituality of it exists. And that's why I say Shiv, Shivanand, Shiv Yogi. Shiv Yogi is the practitioner. Shiv is the cosmic consciousness. And Shivanand is the Guru's top knowledge, power, helping you, motivating you, pushing you. So if you're just doing the physical stretchy stuff, then yes, of course you have to start from scratch and whatnot. And I'm sure if you do the stretch wrong, then your hammy will be pulled and whatnot. But when you're talking about the spiritual practice, understand you're not alone. The Sanatan Parampara is with you. That power, that connection is with you. So have faith in yourself and that spirituality. And we also say the Shiv Ananta, Shiv Kripa Ananta. That means the divine is infinite and its grace is infinite. Meaning that no matter what blockage comes in my life, the divinity is more powerful than any blockage. Shiva Ananta. Mahadev is bigger than anything. So if you will stop looking at it as a practice, but start to look at it as Amrit, nectar of immortality, that is when you will find you will have the power and force to blast through everything. And it's not Sumit who is doing it. It is the Shiv and the Shivanand helping the Shiv Yogi to reach to that level. Yes.
Yes. I love that. Okay. That makes sense. I felt like I haven't been doing the whole protocol the way through this time. Like I've been doing a couple days, 2 to 3 days as needed, until God, Bhairava, tells me, move on. I have found value in it tremendously by continuing to move through it this way. I have a lot of neck and shoulder tension, and the last protocol of the first level, we do like behind the neck, and something happened the last time I did that. I did that last Saturday before the super forum. I was doing it, and something in me just melted. And for the first time, this is the first time I'm saying it publicly. For the first time, I was able to sit in lotus for an extended period of time, uh, without being altered by any sort of psychedelic. The only time I was ever able to sit in lotus before for an extended period of time was when I was tripping on mushrooms. I don't know why, I don't know how that works, but like tripping on mushrooms just like allowed it to happen. But then like something about doing that sadhana that day, just something melted. And I was still in I didn't wake my eyes up. I still was sitting there after doing the sadhana, and my body just went into lotus. And it just like, and I was just there. And the
What
pain
is the
wasn't there.
psychoactive substance in the mushroom you had? Psilocybin?
Yeah.
So psilocybin is a very powerful substance,
Mm.
and it mimics the power of sadhana, because when you do the Kundalini sadhana, the Granthi Bedan happens. So Granthi Bedan is the blockages. So think of it in this manner, that all our psychic impressions, they get stored in various parts of the body, and they become those blockages. So even in our energy flow, the flow of our chi or of our prana, so then the blockages happening, and then those blockages even manifest physically in the form of stiffness, and to some extent even as the form of disease, to the form of manifesting even in psychosomatic levels as form of some mental illness. So when the flow of the Kundalini Shakti starts to happen, then the first thing that Ma Bhagavati Kundalini does is it blasts the Granthis. And when the Granthi Bedan happens, then suddenly, the flow is there, and then there's those pose that you're talking about, Padmasan, lotus. Lotus is you can
Americanized.
is nice. Then you can do those lotus nicely, because the Kundalini Shakti awaken, and you can do so much more. And the difference is that if you take psilocybin and it just mimics, then like many times those changes are fixed to when you are feeling that high. And some people have been able to take it forward
and continue it from,
but many people do not access that same state post that high. But with sadhana, then you can access it again and again, and it just flows into your reality. And then after some time, when the last Rudra Granthi Vedan has happened, then you are in a state of constant flow. Now imagine being in a state of constant flow. For a writer, it means being in a state of constant creativity. For a poet, it means in that state of constant poetry. For a fighter, for an athlete, it's in that constant being in that zone. So a lot of people can benefit from the Shakti sadhanas, the Kundalini sadhanas, not just the yogis, and then that's why in the ancient times, we taught kings. The Raja, even if the Raja was Asura or a Deva, he would learn all these modalities, because he would use these esoteric powers, these mystic powers, in doing that Rajya while he's ruling, because he needs that focus, he needs that power. In Bharat, we were very concerned that people in power should have access to all their potential and power. So we would make sure that princes would go to the Gurukul, learn all these Shakti sadhanas, so that whenever they are in that time of need, they can access it and use it to do the sashan, the rule, the dharmaraj, the divine rule.
Okay. So yoga of Immortals is a Kundalini program. It awakens the Kundalini. I don't want to say Kundalini program, but like it's a sadhana that awakens the Kundalini.
So Shakti sadhana has to have Kundalini sadhana in it. So I don't know what you mean. What is a Kundalini program?
In the West, it's really the Kundalini is a very popular word, and
no, but it is like nose. It's like nose in the East. So if you say sastra or nose,
Mm.
Oh, you mean
So
it's a brand name?
yeah, and so like doing Kundalini yoga is something that awakens Kundalini, and
Doing yoga awakens Kundalini.
yeah,
No, there is no such thing as Kundalini yoga.
mm.
So there is Kundalini. It's like doing bicep curl awakens the bicep. You can just say the curl awakens the bicep. It's like
Okay,
Kundalini. Everybody has it.
okay,
It's that energy that's inside us. It's that Shakti.
mm-hmm.
And then there are
Shakti
those
energy.
yoga modalities eventually that will awaken the consciousness. So it is a natural part of the natural yoga process.
Okay,
So any powerful modality does that has the Shakti sadhana in it will deal with the Kundalini Shakti.
okay.
It's like a natural thing. It's like whenever you have to do workout, you do the abs. It's the same. Kundalini is part of it.
So why do so many people caution awakening Kundalini and discuss the dangers and the potential hazards of awakening the Kundalini? And there's been stories I've heard left and right of people awakening Kundalini too aggressively, too fast, maybe through usages of psychedelics, sometimes out of nowhere. Like, for example, my friend, she had this instance where she was in India, in Mumbai.
Oh, now you're talking two different things. Yes, continue.
She was at a Krishna temple, and just all of a sudden her back gave out. But she was in bliss. Her back gave out, and her a spine, a disc ruptured. Is that the same thing as like the dangers of a Kundalini sadhana? Like,
Oh, her disc ruptured.
but just out of nowhere.
What? I don't know what she was doing.
Yeah. Okay. But then, like,
See,
so many people though
okay, so
caution
what
awakening
happens is
Kundalini.
if you
Yeah.
have demons sleeping inside you,
Mm.
and if you awaken them, and you don't know how to deal with them, because many times it happens with trauma, you block out, you black out. So when I work as a cognitive therapist, then I'm dealing with PTSD, I'm dealing with trauma. This is our brain's defense mechanism. So it hides sometimes things from us that it knows we can't deal with. And it's like you have something and you're prodding it again and again and again, and then something you do not have the potential and power to deal with. And it's like when you are playing The Witcher. Have you played The Witcher?
The game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are just starting out, and you go into a level 20 enemy.
You die like that.
Like that.
Yeah.
The same principle applies, that you are doing something that you don't know about, and those level 20 traumas and come. And that's why under proper guidance the Kundalini Shakti should be awakened. And that's
Okay.
why I am calling it Shakti Sadhana. It's the divine mother for me. I'm not just saying it like
Yeah.
like Kundalini. It's like the Shakti Sadhana. It's to handle with respect, handle with grace. You are dealing with energies that are way beyond our current understanding, that are much more capable. And if we know how to do it under correct guidance and supervision, then great things will happen.
Okay.
That's why I say it's a part of the yoga process.
Mhm.
So you build up, and then you reach, and then you handle. And if you are working in the guidance of a powerful practitioner, then even he has that power to help you in such a way that some things that may not be good for you, you can remove it from the journey, so you can heal.
Ah.
Okay,
Okay.
so the Witcher example stuck its landing. That's
It did.
good.
We touched on this in the last conversation, in the last episode. If you go into certain places and you sit down, you can download the knowledge from yogis who've been there from past. I feel like I'm starting to feel their presence more and more and more. he doesn't use the word download. I put that word download.
You channel their energy. And you do that.
What does that mean then? Like, do you just need to be at a place of so
I will give you an example.
like how what's the process of that? Like, how does that happen?
I will give you an example.
Okay.
I was 17 years old, kid. And, just like out of the monastery and not completely tethered out of the monastery. I had no idea about the world. And my guru, he had these plans for me, and he saw that I had reached to that level, I had reached to some power potential, and he's like, he wanted me to believe in myself in a way. So what he does is he sends me to Malaysia, and he tells me, oh, it's like it's a foreign trip. We're very happy, just go enjoy. And we reached to this place, and it's the Shah Alam. It's a very big stadium there.
Okay.
A very big place. And outside, there are these big posters of deep healing. And I'm like, what does deep healing mean? What is this? And inside we see 600 people are already there. And then I notice that they're taking me to the stage. And I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? And then suddenly I'm told that the Mahasiddha Abdut has said that Ishan will teach deep healing to all these people for 5 days from morning 9 to 5. And I'm like, what the hell is deep healing? Like, what are you saying? I don't know. And then I start to become pale. I start to become nervous. I don't know. I've never taught, anything to such loud people. And I don't have any curriculum. I have nothing. And I just said to them, let me talk to my guru once, please, let me talk. And this is long time ago. So, when phone calls were only the rich. And somehow we get connect to the guru, and I'm like, Babaji, why you are doing this to me? Babaji is what we call him with love. And he's like, don't worry, you will channel the Mahasiddha through you. And I said, Babaji, I don't know if I can do that. He said, here, I'll give you the mantra and I want you to do it. He says, Avadhutam Mahasiddham Adivyadi Prashmanam Bhog Mokshpradam Devam Mahasiddham Namamya. He said, just think of the Mahasiddha and just pray. I get on stage. I have no idea. I don't know. And I have this vast crowd in front of me, and it's not just Indian. It's various ethnicities there sitting. And I start speaking. And that day, I spoke things that even I don't know. I taught protocols that even I don't know. And such wisdom started to flow. And then after the program ended, I went and I asked for the video recording. And they said, why? I said, because I want to learn what I taught. Because and suddenly the Mahasiddha's consciousness was gone, and then I'm back to me. And I let me learn. So now imagine that young me is listening to me, making notes about what I said so I can memorize for next time. And the whole 5 days. So like every day I would get nervous, scared, afraid if Mahasiddha will come and teach through me or not. And then what if he's like 10 minutes late and I'm just out there singing Kishore Kumar songs and whatnot. But every day, the moment I sat on the Vyas Gaddi, so when a guru sits on the chair, you don't call it a chair, you call it the Vyas Gaddi. Vyas is that great Ved Vyas who wrote the Mahabharata. So then you channel.
Yeah.
You channel the Mahasiddha. You channel Shiva as the Guru, Bhagwan Dakshinamurti. Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Mahyam Medam Pragnam Prachaswaha. And that first Shiva, the first Guru, became the first disciple as Dattatreya. So Shiva taught Shiva as the Guru and the Shishya, Dakshinamurti teaching the Dattatreya. And that's where the Mahasiddha consciousness comes through the Saptarishis, through the lineage to people like us. And then that energy happens, it flows. But again, this is my own personal experience, and
It's
that
starting to
does flow
happen.
through you.
It's starting to happen to me a little bit, actually, in a certain way. So in Sri Lalita Rudram, we chant the Guru Stuti. That vibrates in me so particularly.
The Shivyuk Sanatan Parampara Namavali.
All of it does, but like I actually chant the whole book at this point now, except
Guru
for
Stuti is the Akhanda Mandalakaram
Yeah.
Vyaktam Yena Characharam
Yeah.
Padam Darsitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah, and so on.
Yeah, it vibrates in me. And then chanting the parampara right afterwards.
Yeah, it just makes you go brrr.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 watts start to flow in a 5-watt bulb.
Yeah.
That's why I made it like that.
Thank you. and also chanting the Shri Vidyam Jagatam Dhatarim Sarga Siti Lasrinani Ladeta Nityam Mahatrapura Sundharim Pashankshekshu Kodana Prashuna Vishikam Samaritudhyakoti Ravi Prakaya Mahatrapura Sundharim. That starts just affecting me immediately from there. And I don't know if it's because I'm wearing this, but it's actually like affecting me even more.
So we both are wearing this Shri Yantra. We all wear this. All Shiv Yogis wear this. This is our universe on our chest. The whole universe. That's what it describes. So if you look at the Shri Yantra, the Bindu and the Bupur. So the small point inside, it represents the infinite. And from where the Big Bang, the Bhupur, the expansion happens. So in together, Shri Yantra explains the Shrashti and the Sanghar, meaning materialization and dematerialization, without which the world cannot exist. It represents the Shiva and the Shakti, and through them, the whole cosmos and all gods and all divinities. It shows completeness.
So is then the Shiva the external and the Shakti the Bindu?
They both are together in a way that cannot be divided. Then it's like Bhagwan Lalita Rudra, Shiva Shakti. So to a point where Shiva began and where Shakti began, you don't know. Ardhanareshwar.
I was actually just gonna. He's been doing this all day, reading my mind. This is a sin, right?
No, this is what is a sin?
A siddhi. I mean,
Siddhi. Oh, Siddhi. I thought,
not sin. Siddhi. I said sid, but I meant to say siddhi. This is a siddhi, right? Like to read minds.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you. I was just gonna
imagine
ask you
if I knew how to do this before I was married. Life would have been so cool, but no. All this happened much later. No, then the boy would have game, but the boy never had game before. And when the boy had game, the game is purposeless.
That's why I'm just like I'm living in an attachmentless life, like no partners right now, because it was just it just became too painful, and it became too hard to focus on my own growth, because I had to focus on somebody else.
But then why do you get projects? Why not partners?
The projects that because it's not for me. Like I feel like the partner is for me. The project is for everybody else.
No, but you are making the partner the project, no? So like when people date, sometimes they are not dating people, they are dating IKEA furniture. Where in their head they are thinking some assembly required. And then in their head they are like, yeah, that's good. See, but then I'll fix them.
I'm trying not to. There's this individual, his name is Robert Edward Grant. Very divine thinker. In fact, I think he's a reincarnation. I suspect he's a reincarnation of Leonardo da Vinci. Ooh. He's a polymath, just like Leonardo da Vinci was. He if I'm not mistaken, he was the creator of Botox, but he's since left the business.
Botox is what makes all the Hollywood heroines look the same.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
When they can't smile,
yeah,
when they smile with their eyebrows,
yeah,
and they go like this.
and they look like aliens.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they have the funny lips.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
what Botox is.
yeah. I think he created it, but he's a very, very wise thinker. He said this one thing where it's not the universe, it's the you inverse. And any sort of judgment you put out on anybody else, you are inversely reflecting the judgment within you onto them. And that hit me so deeply that I'm at the point now where I'm like, let me try to be as judgmentless to people as I possibly can. And in fact, I've kind of just started viewing everybody as either my child or my brother or my sister. And I'm starting, I desire that in all aspects of my life. I desire that in a partner. I actually also am in the process of trying to just remove any sort of expectation from life. Surrender. The path of surrenderance is really hitting me deep. But I find that anybody who comes into my life, they're trying to change me instead of accepting me for what I am and accepting the path and the journey that I need to go on, because they have their expectations of how they want this relationship to be, how they want me to be in a certain very specific timeline for their benefit.
That must be exhausting.
And so I've chosen the path of solitude for now.
For now.
Until Bhagwan deems it, whatever.
Until Bhagwan deems it.
Yes, until Bhagwan deems it.
Until Bhagwan deems it. But I understand what you're saying.
And like, I need to focus on my own growth.
Yes.
And bringing somebody else in immediately incapacitates my ability to focus on my growth and my purpose.
No, but that is something beautiful that happens. When you focus on your own growth, then you start attracting on a different plane. And then it's like energy attracts like energy. So it's like in the Purans, they say when Sati or when Parvati, so the Shakti, forms of Shakti, they wanted Shiva, they would meditate. And the same is when the Shiva would attract the Shakti, they would, do lots of sadhana and then, reach to that level where that divine union can happen. Otherwise, the union is not possible. Because Shiva can be at that plane, but Shakti, if she is not at that plane, she cannot see Shiva for who he is. And if Shiva is not reaching to that plane, then in his head, the Shakti is always limited. But when they both rise, and then that union happens, then the cosmos is created. Otherwise, Bazar is created. When low consciousness people meet, then the spark, and Bazar basically means nonsense. But when high consciousness people meet, cosmos. And it's very interesting that when you raise your vibrations, you raise your consciousness, then you start to attract even that person towards you, and then you meet at that point when you both can grow together, and there is just gratitude, and there is respect, and there is love, and it's a very divine feeling. And sometimes I meet people who say, no, I've chosen the path of solitude, and I respect that. But I hope one day you can feel that love also that Shiva and Shakti had.
I hope so too, and I pray. But like,
if it's in your destiny, it'll be good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But until then,
because some yogis do, they've done that, and they've come in this planet now for some other reason. So there are a lot of yogis. So I personally come from a Grahast Parampara. Grahast Parampara means that it is in our path, in our divine spiritual practice, to find that love. And and do your sadhanas then with that spouse. So there is grahast, and then there is the vairagi. So the vairagi is the one who will not have the wife. If he has, he'll leave it. And the grahast is the one who will actively seek a relationship, and that with that spouse he will do the path of the Shiva and the Shakti, and then create that cosmos. So when I went into that, I actually saw what can happen if your spouse does not want you to be on that spiritual path, and what can happen if the spouse does want. Because all of the Shiv yogis that I train and teach, so many of them, I'm talking 95%, are grahast. So then I get a lot of data. I get to learn a lot. And I see that the whole concept of the divine union is slowly vanishing from the planet. And because that divine union is vanishing, then the divine child is vanishing. The divine family is vanishing. So yogis have that power to bring the divine union back to the current times.
If it's in the cards. I
Yes,
surrender.
of course.
I surrender at this point now.
I just made a blanket statement. No pressure. I'm not hired by your mom.
Are you sure?
No. She didn't give me extra laddus to convince you.
Because Desi parents want that above all else. So I want to turn this into a slightly different direction now. I'm going to read this because it's a deep question. This universe is a multi-universal place. And as far as I understand, in the quantum breakage of this physical reality, and hopefully I'm not going to lose people on this, every thought, every decision, every instance, every snap of a finger creates another parallel reality, right? Is that also then creating another parallel version of us? That's the first part. The second part is then, if we're living in a multi-universal place where there's multiple fractures of our consciousness spread across multitudes of planes, how does consciousness express itself as multiple selves over the multiple parallel realities? And take it a step further, is consciousness of a singular self equal across all parallel realities, like a light bulb? Or is it dimmer in some realities and brighter in other realities? Is that too deep?
Oh, I'm just
digesting it.
It's like a plate of spaghetti on the table. I'm trying to figure out which noodle to pick up.
That's what I was trying to do, one question at a time, but you were staying silent. So I was like, okay, I'll just break it all out.
Try to make it relevant to the listener.
Yeah.
So like this question. So explain it in a way that the listener understands.
So this question comes from me, but it also comes from a friend.
Yes.
She is more in Western occultic practices.
Yes.
And she has a desire to experience her alternate reality selves. And we've had some conversations about this, about how that would be possible. And then there's stories of, it's said that Mahavatar Babaji has collapsed all of his cells into the single self.
So you are going into the many worlds theorem.
Is it not a many worlds theorem though? I mean, it feels like it's a multi-universal plane that we live in. And in fact, scientists have started to get into understanding that we are in a multi-universal plane. And in my meditation, I experience parts of it. At least when I go to the place of no mind, no body, and it's like just the limitless expanse of nothingness, it feels like that limitless expanse of nothingness has everything inside of it. And it feels like I'm becoming in union with the quantum realm, with the quantum universe, the universe of all and nothing, of all potential and no potential.
So let me explain to you in two ways. There was this saint who lived, and in India there used to be this yagya called Ashwamedh, where a horse would be made to travel and armies would travel behind the horse. So if somebody would challenge those armies, he would take the horse, and then those armies will fight with the challenger. And the whole point was, wherever the horse goes unchallenged, all that land belongs to the king. And after which the horse was sacrificed and the whole thing was there. And if somebody stops the horse, then they will have to fight the king's army, because that's a challenge. So the horse went into a monk's hermitage. A simple monk was living there. And the horse came and he just started to graze next to the monk. So the armies thought that he has stopped the horse and it's time to challenge, and they started to attack. So the horse just stood up, and next to the horse there was this big boulder. From that boulder he conjured wild beasts, big armies, big animals that nobody had ever seen before. And he defeated the army. And then the king looked as his army took away the king's army back into the boulder. So the king went and touched the monk's feet and said, "What is this?" He said, "I'm just monk here right now. In that other dimension, I am a great king. And I have this army and this and that. And in some other dimension, I am this lord of these planets. So through that rock, I opened all those things and I got access to all those things and I brought them into the physical plane. So you are just a king of this small country."
There's a story of this in
our scriptures, yes.
Which one?
So this is I don't remember which one, but this is one of the stories that my guru used to tell me.
Wow.
And again, you have to understand, we have 108 Upanishads, we have 4 Vedas, and we have
I'm just curious because I want to go read it.
16 Purans. So I don't know from which one this is, but
that's gnarly though.
Yeah. So this is like these were our bedtime tales. So my guru would tell them to me, and it was amazing. So again, the whole point is that interdimensional travel, that multiverse theory that you so very passionately quoted, scientists are discovering. We have been making stories of this.
We've known it for
and
hundreds of thousands of
years. And again, even if you call it a story, then that thought, such a precise thought, because West has made stories, Alice in Wonderland, West has made Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. So it's not like cultures don't make stories, but it's just our stories are so quantum spot on, like just that, okay, like this, that you can actually sit with somebody and try to do the math of it. And so these things were there.
Wow.
My own experience, I will say, I had this girl came in and she had this obsession of reliving her past lives. And she came to me, and I do these processes called Pratiprasav sadhana. where the whole point is to let go of any trauma that we are carrying intergenerationally or through many lifetimes. And during these processes, yes, sometimes things do happen and you do see things, you do experience lifetimes, but it's done in a very controlled manner and there is an objective to it. And none of the objective is spiritual tourism. And with her, the thing was that she went into this, what you call this fortune tell lady, and she said, oh, in the past life we were Cleopatra and this and that. And then she read a book where she said that once a person did past life and he come back speaking French because all that past life was unlocked and this and that. So she came and she really pushed and said, she'll pay, she'll do this, and that. This was the time when I was a young monk, and I was easily open to seduction. And but again, I had my guru over my head, and more than the seduction of any pleasure, I was afraid of his stick. So yeah, whoop, capital punishment. And so
Really?
we used to practice martial arts, so it was all fair game in the ring. Okay. So you could hit your kid with a mudgar, and it would be called training. So it's not like child abuse; it's martial art training. Anyways, so I was afraid, so I just let that lady go, and then after some time she came to me, and there was this broken marriage, and apparently in some past life she saw that her husband apparently was her servant, and she had this lover, and the servant murdered the lover. So rather than coming back with any French speaking skills, she came up with this trauma that her subconscious had created, in which her husband had wronged her and killed her lover. So she came back and she could not forgive him, and she was fighting with him, and just not having the ability, and then that led to the breaking of the relationship, the divorce. And the husband is saying, what? Like, you killed my lover. He said, when? In the past life. Like, who? So imagine if you are that spouse and you have to deal with all this. So again, there is always a point. You want to access interdimensional knowledge, strength, power, divinity. I understand. But you want to do tourism. I do not understand and I do not motivate. The rishis who have the power to access, and they easily walk. So we have these concepts in the past that rishis would be going to talk to Mahadev, and somebody would go, and literally this we have these stories of, and this is from the actual Mahabharata. We have when a rishi goes to meet Lord Brahma, and then a king goes with the rishi. So the king is waiting for Lord Brahma to come out of his room. So the Lord Brahma is not coming out, and one day passes. And when Lord Brahma comes out, then the king is like, oh, I had come because I wanted to ask you who will marry my daughter. But the king is like, the Lord Brahma is, brother, you were here one day. One day here is 1,000 years on earth. And now we are understanding that on different planets with different gravities, time goes slowly. So how could people in Sanatan give such precise explanations that you are in that dimension where time is going so slow, and then that poor guy is sent back, and then his daughter, the Lord Brahma says, marry him to Balram, Lord Krishna's brother. So all those stories, they are there, and all the explanations are there. But again, to what end?
To what effect?
What are you trying to do with that sacred knowledge? What are you trying to achieve? What will you get?
So I have another friend who is practicing past life regression therapy. And she had kind of asked, the intention is to clear karmas, past life karmas. With sadhana, the purpose of sadhana is to clear karma over all lifetimes, right? Is past life regression therapy a necessary tool then if we're doing sadhana?
Pratiprasav is very, very important because Pratiprasav helps us let go of the sanskaras. Pratiprasav is the process that leads to the rebirth. Because Pratiprasav itself is not meaning past life. It means rebirth. Pratiprasav, born again. If you look at the life of various saints, we call them Dvij, that they are born again. Even in Christianity, we have the concept of born again. To born again, the past must die. And you'll see this, you'll see when you'll be reading about Ramana Maharshi, his meditation, he's burnt, and then like phoenix, he rises from the ashes. You will read about Baba Nanak. He jumped in the Kund, then he didn't appear only. And then after a long time, he appeared, and when he appeared, he wasn't him. And when he appeared, he said, Ek Onkar Satnam.
This is Guru Nanak Ji.
Haji.
Ah.
So then he's Dvij. Then the old is gone, and the new comes. So past life regression, I don't know what it means. But we in the yoga practices really value the Pratiprasav. And Pratiprasav is literally going what even Patanjali says in his sutras, that avidya asmita ragdvesh abnivesh kalesh dhyanaya tadvitte pratiprasavyaya sukshmaha, meaning that all our afflictions begin from lack of knowledge of who we are. Because we have avidya, we don't know who we are. It leads to ragdvesh, means avidya asmita, so meaning we don't know who we are, so we create a false identity. Asmita, ego. Somebody tells us this is our name, religion, this, that, so we make a false identity. And then once we have that false identity, then there is rag and dvesh, that means attachment to the people who concur with our false identity, who are who agree with us, and then repulsion to the people who do not agree with us. And then from that rag dvesh comes abnivesh, meaning fear of the people who we are repulsed by. And all this cumulatively creates kalesh. Kalesh is a very Punjabi word, as imagine it's also coming from deep Sanskrit of Patanjali, kalesh. And kalesh is just that nonsense that keeps on occurring and occurring because avidya. So the whole purpose of Pratiprasav is to swim through that kalesh, to let go layer by layer those avidyas and reach to the state of vidya, meaning to let go of the bondages, the false knowledge, and to reach to the state of real knowledge, what we say realization. And that is Pratiprasav. It has nothing to do with past lives. So if the sanskar we are carrying in this life, then we just need to dip within. And if in that process some past life comes, because when Buddha was doing his Pratiprasav, then a lot of past lives come because he was carrying the sanskar of that. And those past lives of Buddha are known as the Jatak Kathain. When Mahavir is from the Jain religion, the great monk, when he was doing the Pratiprasav, he called it Jati Smaran, where all that past sanskaras came, and it could come in any form. It doesn't need to be past life. Then again, putting that level of past life is then tourism. It is just the sanskar. And think of it in this way. Why I need to go to the past life? Imagine if you're walking and you step on dog shit. And then you come home and you have to clean your boot. Do you have to go to the point of dog shit to clean your boot? Why?
Just clean your boot.
The turd is on the boot. So clean it here. So why I don't understand people say, oh no, I have to go to the past life to see it actually happening when I step on it. If there is a sanskar attachment, something that needs to be healed, a part of the soul that was left behind, then of course, then it's natural. That is why the yogis, they called Pratiprasad. They did not say Punarjanam Yog, past life. Simple. because they do not need to capture your imagination. It is a simple understanding that you can carry a lot of sanskara. Sanskara means the impact, the shadow, the influence of unresolved issues, the arrows that we keep in our bag, the emotional, they need to be pulled out. And for any yogi, it becomes imperative that the first step in sadhana, he does the pratipasa.
Really?
Yes. If you do the pratipasa, you will find yourself closer to God. You will find yourself understand. So think of it in this way. We see that window there. Yes. That window is glass. And there we saw mirror. Mirror is also glass. What is difference between the window and the mirror?
That is see-through, that is reflective.
Reflective. Why? Because that mirror has coating of something. That coating makes it reflective. That is clean. That has no coating. The coating is the karma. The coating is the sanskara. So when you are reading about yoga and the yoga philosophies and the divine wisdom, they are looking through the window of the soul. So they are looking at the God, and they are looking at the blue sky, and they are looking at birds chirping, they are looking at green grass. And when I read it, I don't see anything. I just see my own face. That is why the great holy wars are done in the name of religion. Because these are mirrors reading the scripture that was written by windows. It is very important for the mirror to become window, then read the book.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just see your reflection and you'll just abuse everything based upon your sanskaras.
So is that why Sadhguru says, don't go reading all these books, all these Vedas, all these Puranas, all these Upanishads, just do the sadhana?
That is not, I will say, because I am a Hindu, Sanatani, and a Sanatani must respect the Vedas and the Puranas and the Upanishads. And even in the Shaivite philosophies, we are Shaivs. So our great scripture is the Shiv Sutras. But I always motivate the Shiv yogis to respect the Vaishnavas, because Shiva and Vishnu go hand in hand. And you cannot really ignore Krishna and love Shiva, because if you really love Shiva, then even the Krishna is him, the Shakti is him, and everything is him. And that's why I have the knowledge of the Gita, and I consider it as a great Puran, as a great form of spiritual knowledge for the Sanatanis. And even though I am a Shaiv, so I do not see that difference. So I will not say not read any book. I would say first do pratipasa, purify yourself, and then read. But at the same time, I do not know what Sadhguruji said. So I will not quote.
Okay, that's fine. Can curses be carried over lifetimes to the point that you need to go to them to heal them, to repair them, to clear that?
Addiction can be carried generationally. Traumas can be carried generationally. Pain can be carried generationally. Why not curses?
Like, can two souls be cursed to like live the same pain?
As I said, a father's addiction, son can carry. And we have scientific evidence. If you come from a background, a home of addiction, then even if you are raised separately, then there is a big percentage for you to go into substance abuse. The same is with cognitive disorders. The same is with mental health issues. If you come from a family of schizophrenia or bipolar or depression, then the chances of the child, even if raised separately, of suffering the same mental health disorder, it increases. So what do you mean by curse? Isn't addiction a curse? Isn't depression a curse? Isn't all these the rage, the women abuse? We are coming from Eastern societies where women are suppressed. And so many times I've seen that culture of abuse generationally goes on from one family to another, to another, to another. Isn't that a curse?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say, however, at least for me, because I do, uh, I don't like to say suffer, because depression is a frequency within me. I've learned to.
Beautiful way to express it.
Thank you. I've learned to shift it from being a painful experience to a teacher. I learn from it. I learn what is out of balance so I can focus on what to put balance into.
You found the way, you broke the curse.
It still comes. It still comes. Like I just went through, I'm actually on the way out of a depressive cycle. But I learn every single time to stay more and more focused and more committed to resolving what's out of balance by listening to where the imbalance is coming from. And I think that's where the depression comes from. It's from an imbalanced state, either internally or externally. Would you agree?
Agree on what?
I don't know. I feel like depression, for all of those who are suffering from it, I think really learning to retranslate what it is, and then instead of swimming through the throes of the pain of it,
yes, awareness helps.
Sit with it and listen to it.
Awareness helps. Show light on it.
Mm.
You know, when that energy, that cloud comes, and we don't know what it is, and we don't have tools to deal with it, then it becomes more powerful. And if we are aware, then we have the power to tame it. That's why I like Mahadev's. So look at that. There, Nataraj, do you see on the windowsill?
I'm not wearing my glasses. I can see like this.
Okay, you see the dancing Shiva. Okay, forget, you don't see. My mistake. You are.
I know Nataraj though.
Yeah, you know Nataraj.
Yeah.
Shiva is dancing. Under Shiva's feet, there is Apasmar, the demon.
Oh, I've never noticed that.
In your glasses, let's see. He's dancing on the demon.
I've never noticed that before.
You learn every day.
Yes, clearly.
So that demon is immortal.
Okay.
And that Apasmar represents. Apasmar literally means confusion.
Okay.
And it means, the state of not knowing, confused. You're confused. Depression after some point. You're confused. Why is this happening? What? It's just, it takes over you. And it's amazing because in all other theologies, we are taught that, victory of good over evil. But Mahadev shows us that Apasmar is immortal. It never dies. You can only control it. And you control it through your spiritual practice. And the day your spiritual practice dies, Apasmar is waiting to get up and take over your life. So it is a battle. Dealing with depression is a battle. And if I say to somebody it will be cured, then if Shiva is dancing on the Apasmar still. So always it will be a journey, and your spiritual practice will give you that awareness and those tools, and Apasmar will seem weaker and weaker and weaker every day. And that's why they show Apasmar so small, little. And then Shiva so big and powerful. So your spirituality is so powerful now that depression that looks like this untamable beast is now a little bitty cute thing that you can flick away from having control over you. But at the same time, it's just a bad day away. So you never let go. And I see this when I work with people who follow Alcoholic Anonymous. And very beautifully they say, one drink is never enough. Like you could be sober for 20 years and you think you have conquered the Apasmar and you just let go. And when relapse happens, relapse is horrible. It comes back with a vengeance. So apasmar is always there in the shadows, waiting. And that's why we must be strong in our spiritual practice. We must continue the tandav till the time we are.
It's like nicotine. I quit smoking cigarettes in January of 2020. I still crave cigarettes. It's crazy. Like I see somebody holding a cigarette and I just get a craving for it. I can still feel like how it feels to take that first hit. How much it just washes away. Crazy. But that's why I will never go back to it.
Yes.
And
then that's the crazy thing. Apasmar, when it's showing you the playbacks, it's showing you the best of it. It's not showing you the worst of it. It's showing you the best, the nicest thing, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then
no, but I remember the worst of it too, like the pressure in the chest and like
when
the
you remember somebody,
lab.
It's like the euphoria, the dopamine buttons get, man. That's why you have to have that Shiva, that Nataraj.
So, quickly going back to past life regression, in her studies of it, because she's been certified in it now, they say that in 3 to 5, there's several different people, several different groups of people that teach past life regression therapy.
You can certify someone to go into past lives?
Nice. There's somebody named Dolores Cannon, whom I've studied a bit of. She's passed on now. Yeah, she has.
That's so cool. I practiced yoga 20 years in an ashram. Nobody ever certified me. And then I come to the West. No, because still, like, we still have a hierarchy. We still have the gurus and this and that. And then it's like, I come to the West and somebody comes to me and I'm a master yoga teacher. And I go, how? And it's like, I did a 150-hour training and now I'm a master. Yeah, I did 20 years. I'm still not master. I need a teacher like you, like a teacher like you had. So that's cool that you can get certification and all this. Because Pratiprasav, I learned it from the great yogis and I practice it, but I'm still not certified in it. That's the problem with yogis. We should be handing out diplomas to each other because we have these Western people coming in, they learn and then they go back and then they start handing out diplomas, and then we come here and then they ask us for our diploma, and we were the ones who taught in the first place and we don't have a diploma. That's not nice. I'll go back to the monastery and I'll scream at them. I'm like, start giving PhD certifications. How do you know you have reached? Certificates for enlightenment will be so cool, and I can charge 5K for that.
I mean, I pray that doesn't happen.
So how do you know you're enlightened? We have to have certificate. It'll be nice. We'll have a database of enlightened people.
There's no trust in society these days anymore, so the document is what proves it.
I can print out any document.
But still it proves it. I mean, you can fake anything, but it still proves it. I'm not saying that you're
prove what? I don't have a document to prove.
I know.
I am who I am. I don't carry anything.
Yeah.
Aye.
It's the thing about the West. I feel like
coming back. Okay, she's a certified practitioner of past life
regression therapy.
Yes. So therapy, I understand certified therapist.
So past life regression therapy is going to past lives to clear baggage and weight from this life. So for one example.
So I understand it's like a Pratiprasav, but it focuses more on past lives.
Yes.
But explain to me one thing. In Christian theology, there is no past life. So you can only do past life regression to Hindu people or Buddhist people?
This is practices for those who are not of the Abrahamic tradition, or those who are open to perception beyond the Abrahamic traditions.
Okay. Because even in the Hindu theology, in the Sanatani way of life, as I said, Pratiprasav, we don't cling to past life. If it happens, it happens. It's not important. And only there we focus if there's like some soul retrieval, like sometimes the trauma is so big, parts of us are lost. So then we go, because that learning can only happen in that space and time. So then you go there to sort of release yourself from that suffering. And there are many people who don't have that. So it's more to do with release of sanskaras. And again, I'm saying this to you because I don't think that I'm the right person
to answer this.
to answer this, because I'm not certified.
So the question that she wanted was, so in these communities, they say that 3 to 5 sessions you can heal any sort of trauma. An example is one woman in her past life, her brother was drowned, and it was accidentally her fault. It was an accident, but the woman was the one who did it. Fast forward into this life, that brother was born as her child and brought about immense suffering in her life because that child committed suicide. And this woman wasn't able to ever recover from that until she did these past life regression therapy sessions and realized that it was her brother who was drowned in the past life who's coming back to seek vengeance in this life, to show the pain that he felt. Can sadhana heal that too? And if so, how much? Because in past life regression therapy, they say 3 to 5 sessions. Hamfat swaha, as you like to say.
And Prati, these are the kind of things that do happen. And people do get healed, and we keep on doing Pratiprasavs once in 6 months. Because sanskaras, it's like the manthan, the churning keeps on happening. It's like the Indian metaphor of churning the oceans till the amrit comes, the nectar of immortality. But before the amrit comes, the halahal vish comes, the poison of our sanskaras. And you can look at it in a very psychological manner also, because our brain is very beautiful. It has this power of, if a person doesn't believe in past lives, then he could just say it's my brain, just like when I dream. So my brain can create images, and those are my way of processing information and releasing all the stimulus that's junk in my head, and letting go. So somebody could say that, I'm taking subconsciously all these things, and that is my brain's way of representing, like how Picasso in his abstractism represented art. But similarly, this is how Pratiprasa in a way works, that the objective is simple: let go of the sanskaras. The modalities are there, and then we focus on those modalities which are yogic in nature, which are spiritual in nature, and one by one we keep on peeling the layers, and we do it till the time the amrit doesn't come out. So it's not like one and done thing, because we are, we have so much inside us. If I quote the Dhyan Bindu Upanishad, then it says that how much sanskara do we have inside. So a master takes the student to the Himalayan mountain range, and he says Sastra Yojan Parvat Shrankla, meaning like 100 of such mountain ranges is the pile of the karmas that you carry when you walk. That is the unresolved issues that a person has. And then through sadhana you have to dissolve it. So when the disciple looks at the mountain, he gets dejected, hopeless, that how could me create something like this? How can a human being be responsible for such evil? How can such a person, small little person, be the cause of so much suffering? But people are capable of that. We see that in history. And then the monk takes the disciple to a big mountain of garbage, and he just takes a spark and he throws it, and the mountain catches fire. So what this represents is, it's the spark of sadhana, the spark of the yogic practice. And that is the whole concept of Pratiprasa, that if you really want to understand the path of yoga, purification is very important. That is why when you want to go deeper in sadhana, purification is important, because otherwise the sanskara will come, then you'll start chasing siddhis, or you'll start chasing, sadhana can be like a high, or some chakra, the energy will stop. And sometimes, people will become extremely sexualized. If you ever go to Yoga Alliance page, then the first thing you'll see right in the home page is about sexual ethics,
Really?
because there has been a lot of misconduct by a lot of yoga teachers in the past, maybe touching feeling a lot, because if you don't channel the energy, then it can stop at a certain place, and that feeling can become very hyper.
What is up, fam? Thank you so much for watching the entire episode. I know it was a longer one. I think all of these episodes are just becoming long at this point, but we're trying to figure out solutions to that. However, they are full of wonderful depth. And that is something that we strive for here at Dang Life Mastery. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you taking the time to go on these journeys with us. And if you enjoyed these high conscious conversations, we have more coming. Please click like and subscribe, and hit that bell so you're informed of when we have new conversations coming up. Thank you so much, and many blessings.